serious topic we've got to go through, guys. The serious topic is, does the Fortnite classifications actually help parents? So, in order to actually, I guess, set the scene, what is the Fortnite classifications? And just like movies, video games have classifications too, if you didn't know. But in Australia, the Fortnite classification is M, believe it or not. M, that's usually 15 plus, but not a hard 15 plus. So it's M. And the reason it's M is they say violence and online interactivity. Well, if violence is the cause for it to be M, we pretty much got to rate the news as M, I think. Pretty much the world we live in today is full of violence, unfortunately. So it is a little bit of a hard reality. But what can we do? Having said that, though, a couple of articles I've read, blah, 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 talk about what Fortnite is. You guys have just seen me playing Fortnite for an hour. We're just running around collecting guns and shooting people. So that's the synopsis of Fortnite, if you didn't know. Just like if you were one of the people who didn't realise that millions of people are playing this game. But anyway, that's fine. That's fine. You know, we can't assume everyone knows about these things. So some of the dangers that the articles I've read discuss are around, they call them medical dangers. I'm not sure if it's so much medical dangers, but basically kids spending way too much time on Fortnite, sitting down in front of the screen. So that's one concern. Concern number one. Concern number two is the interactivity of the video game, which a lot of video games have these days. And that is a genuine cause for concern. Not alarm, just concern. We do need to be aware of that as parents, and we need to come up with a plan to try to tackle that issue. And then the other issue that has been raised is around, we've touched on the violence, is around the dollar bills that get spent on Fortnite, which I've covered off in another video, so we won't go into it too much. But the main issues, I guess, in terms of the classification being M, mainly relating to the violence and the online interactivity. So they're the two things that I wanted to talk about a little bit more. So in terms of violence, I mean, how do we as parents, how do we reconcile the sort of violence that's in Fortnite with other violence that kids might be exposed to? And more importantly, what do we do about it? Like, how do we manage that? Does it cause our kids to become more violent? I would think not, but anyway. So the violence in Fortnite, as you've seen, is very animated, very cartoony, more like hits rather than gunshots and bullet wounds. So it's like, how do you put it? Like, I mean, is the blood what makes it violent? I don't know. Is what kid, especially boys, have not done finger guns without knowing what guns are? There is just something about pew 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 that it just happens. It doesn't mean the kids are violent because they do finger guns. You know what actually causes violence? This is my opinion here. What actually causes violence is parents who are violent, parents who don't know how to deal with problems and who act aggressively. Children who grow up in those environments and see that as a normal behavior and come from unstable environments, that's what causes violence. It's not this. It's not 5, 6, and 7-year-olds running around going pew 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 pew. That's not what causes violence. You know, there's something a lot more deep seated in making someone violent. I mean, certainly when I was a kid, I watched a lot of Looney Tunes, a lot of Coyote and Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. And Roadrunner totally slapped Wile E. Coyote's cheeks around a lot. I can't remember the last time I dropped an anvil on someone. I can't remember the last time I used dynamite for anything. Yeah. I also watched a lot of Flintstones. I can't remember the last time I walked around with a club and tried to club someone. So it is not, I don't think it is inherently the media that our kids are exposed to that causes violence. So, you know, I think we probably need to look at ourselves more so as parents and try to ask ourselves, take the humble road and ask ourselves, what role do we have in nurturing our children and our children's emotional well-being and our children's ability to cope with difficult situations and how they react? What is our role in that, you know, and what can we do to actually nurture them to be the most well-rounded and, you know, kids with really high self-esteem and really high levels of well-being? What can we do as parents? I think that's the question we need to be asking ourselves, and not pointing the finger at video games. I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. I'm sorry to say it. I just said it. I'm not sorry, actually. I'm not sorry. I don't care. It's a bit of a cop-out to blame it on the video games. And then the other issue is around online interactivity. And yes, you know, I understand that. I've got young children, and that was one of my major concerns before I let them start playing Fortnite. So, you know, we've had a lot of discussions around how you treat people in real life and if it's acceptable to tease people and exclude people to the point where you can see them getting upset, right? Like, is that okay in real life? Well, no, it isn't. So why would it be okay just because it's online? You know, really getting them to understand that. And I think that's important. And not just because it's like, oh, well, it's a video game, so we're trying to get them to understand these things. It's because that's the way the world's going. They need to understand that, you know, all these Zoom calls and video things they're doing, video conferences that are going to be normal for them as they grow up, like, still require all the social etiquettes and all the social skills that would occur in real life. So I think Fortnite actually provides a great opportunity for that, depending on how you want to use it. That is up to each individual. But yes, certainly, you know, we've had a lot of chats about, would you start playing a game with someone that you knew absolutely nothing about? Like, would you just go up to the playground and just start playing with a random adult who you don't know, you know? And most kids understand, no, you don't do that. That's, you know, that's not something that we do. So if it's not okay in real life, why is it okay online? It's not, is the answer. It's not okay. So that is, you know, a lot of discussions we've been having around real life. And that brings me to a few comments that I read. These are from commonsensemedia.org, who, by the way, just for your reference, Common Sense Media, parents who reviewed Fortnite said it should be 12 plus. Kids, so that's based on 900 odd reviews. Kids said it should be 10 plus, and there was about 1,800 reviews on that. Common Sense, the website, commonsensemedia.org, suggests 13 plus. So there you have it. I think that's largely based on the classifications, but take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, having said that, one person wrote a comment, and this is a parent, and I thought it was quite a well-rounded comment, and I thank him for actually writing something that had some thought to it. I'm assuming it's a dude, but apologies if it isn't. I'll just read it to you. Free fun, I love free, but needs to be monitored by an adult. I agree, it does need to be monitored, especially in the early stages, because you want to set the tone for this game in terms of the expectations that you have from your child. Issues should be dealt with as they arise. Yes, don't let things fester. That never works out. We play as a family, as do we. Good on you, mate. But as they have got older, more and more friends are playing and adding them. Yes, that happens, and I think that can be a positive. I make sure they act to some degree as they would in the quote-unquote real world, respectful of other people. Totally agree. As if it was a paintball match, laser tag game to some degree. Yes, that is how I describe Fortnite to people. I say it is like a virtual game of paintball. Headsets make it hard to hear what others are saying, but keeping communication open and dealing with issues in real time is a must. I have educated them on negatives and positives of multimedia and get them to try to monitor their game playing time as much as possible. They are mostly sensible, but sometimes they stay on too long, as do I, my man, as do I. And they can see the negative impact it can have on them. Yes, I can start to sort of lose sense of reality, and staying in this seated position for an extended amount of time does make it hard to get up, and my eyes start burning, and it is not a fantastic feeling. When they grow up, they won't have mum and dad to watch over them, so these are life skills they need to have in order to have good mental health. Totally agree. Thank you. Yes, we need to prepare our children for the life that they are getting into. Gameplay is good. Totally agree with that. But as a part of healthy lifestyle, eating well, active in the real world, reading books and doing art, etc., balance is key, and every child is different. And I can see their needs change day by day, but having a break is good. Yes, totally agree with that. What happens if I click helpful? I'll have to sign in. I did think that was helpful though. Mints83. Like, it's good to know that other parents are out there thinking the same thing. And then this article, which I want to read to you because I kind of forgot to read it the first time round. This article, I'm going to leave the kicker until the end, but it says, parents, stop worrying about your children playing Fortnite. This was published in the Sydney Morning Herald. And I thought it was a particularly well-written article. So let's just go through it. Recently, the Today Show criticised the video game Fortnite for being too violent and causing a lack of empathy in children. Anyway, we'll set that one aside, that lack of empathy. I later laughed at this clip over a good game of Fortnite with my mates. We didn't laugh at the terrible consequences predicted by psychologist Sandy Ree, such as laziness, lack of empathy, or ignoring football, because that is a travesty. No, we laughed at the flawed arguments and research. Fortnite is a relatively new game in the Battle Royale genre. Okay, you know this has been a while ago. Where 100 players spawn into a map, which gets smaller as the game continues until one player or a team is left as the winner. About 40 million people play Fortnite around the world. This article was written 4 years ago, by the way, so it's probably a lot more than that. I don't have similar statistics for Australia, but if you ask everyone in my school, well, kind of gives away who wrote it, a great many would say yes, Fortnite is the best. There is no evidence that violent video games cause violence. A 2018 article in The Conversation by Professor of Psychology Christopher J. Ferguson concluded that any claims that there is consistent evidence that violent video games encourage aggression are simply false. A 2015 study by the Oxford International Institute reported that video games sometimes encourage violence. When people lose, they rage quit. That is, they get angry and take it out on others or the controller. but the same can be said for any frustrating activity like football. Yes, how many times have we seen footballers spit the dummy, punch someone in the face? Were they watching Fortnite just before the game? Who knows? As for the violence Fortnite may contain, this game has an M rating in Australia, as we've already discussed. This is the same rating as many great films for children, such as Star Wars. Does Star Wars really have an M rating? Oh my goodness. Okay. Anyway, I'm sure Predator's probably up there. I probably shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't have watched that when I was a kid. Probably I couldn't sleep for like 3 days. Perhaps parents are thinking, well, it might not cause you to go berserk, but you're still just sitting in front of the screen all day and not socializing or getting any exercise. Actually, Fortnite is a good way to socialize with friends. I used to live in Melbourne before I moved to Hobart, and I still use Fortnite to have fun with my friends from Victoria. Well, in this day and age, you probably need to, because you can't get in and out of some states around here. As for exercise, it's true that too much time in front of the screen means less exercise. I struggle with this myself. Who doesn't? What adult is reaching the recommended exercise time? Let us know in the comments if you are one of those adults who regularly exercises. But playing Fortnite or any other video game doesn't mean you can't do exercise. There is plenty of time in a day to do both. Worry about my schoolwork, whether or not I get bullied, or whether I'll grow up in post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland or a paranoid surveillance state. Don't worry about harmless fun. Well, paranoid surveillance state, I think we might already be there. Anyway, Fortnite is not a monster causing children to become violent offenders or sedentary lounge dwellers. It's a fun game which causes no harm when played in normal amounts and allows me to socialize with my friends all across the country. Plus, we all know the real monster in Australia: poor internet speeds. Touche, my man, touche. I love the wit at the end there. Anyway, the author of this, believe it or not, this is what makes it so impressive, because I felt it was quite a well-rounded argument, albeit I haven't actually gone to cross-reference the research that was mentioned in the article. He is was a year 7 student from Hobart, Tasmania. I thought that was particularly impressive that a 12 or 13-year-old could write such a well-rounded article. And yes, I think he raises quite a few, good points in there. So that is the state of classifications. I guess a view from parents. You've heard my view, a view from another parent, and a view from a child on Fortnite as a whole. And so I think it is really up to each individual to decide if Fortnite, if the classification of an M rating, I think it's a teen rating in the US, is like how they're going to use that to make a decision. But I think there's probably a lot more deeper issues that need to be addressed when making that decision. I don't know if the M rating or the classification is actually all that relevant these days. Just being moderate, being balanced, and really thinking about more so about the well-being of our children and the outcomes that we would hope for them as they grow up. I think if we keep that in the front of our minds in making these decisions, rather than just handballing it off to some random government organization to make the decision for us via classification ratings, I think we would be able to make a much sounder decision based on our own children and what how we to nurture them. So anyway, that is my serious discussion for the day.